A pennant is 4 games away. Petaluma continues its quest for its first ever VVAL varsity girls soccer title. Next. Another wonder goal! Oh my goodness! A very good evening from Steve Ellison Field. I'm Griffin Epstein. A vital game here tonight for Petaluma varsity girls soccer as they welcome the Vintage Crushers from Napa. 4 games remain in VVAL play, and Petaluma is tied for first place with a chance to win a league pennant, one of their big goals of the year. However, they can't look past Vintage tonight, a team that has already knocked off some good teams over the course of the year, and will certainly challenge Petaluma here tonight on this Friday night from Steve Ellison Field. It's the Vintage Crushers and the Petaluma Trojans coming up next in VVAL Varsity Girls Soccer right here on Trojan Live. We welcome you up top, Steve Ellison Field, where the starters for the Varsity Girls Soccer team in purple and white gathered around. So focused for this one. This is not the Sonoma County League. Every night is a challenge. Every night you cannot discount the opponent, and Petaluma knows tonight they need to be very focused against Vintage. On Monday night, we were here for Petaluma's 2-0 victory over Sonoma Valley. Petaluma did not start off that game well, and they kept Sonoma Valley around. They cannot afford to do that tonight against the Crushers team that is struggling but can be dangerous. Crushers have fallen to 5th place in the VVAL, but they started very well, including a victory over American Canyon, and they have been Casa Grande's biggest or stiffest test besides Petaluma in VVAL. Casa only beat Vintage 1-0. However, Vintage has not won a game in its last 4 since a big game victory over Napa 3 weeks ago. Petaluma and Vintage coming up next. Petaluma 10-0-3 overall, 6-0-1 in VVAL, while Vintage 6-5-4 overall, 2-4-2 in the Vine Valley Athletic League. Trojans in purple with the white lettering, Vintage in white jerseys with the mahogany lettering. Crushers badly need a victory tonight. This would be a big one for them as we are underway here from Steve Ellison Field. Katrina Rodriguez will get the start for Petaluma, looking for Rocha down the flank. It heads out of play. Trojans are coming off a 5-0 victory over Justin Siena on Wednesday night, and they beat Sonoma Valley, as we mentioned, 2-0 on Monday. Petaluma's 3rd game this week. You do wonder about conditioning. You'll watch that throughout. The Trojans could be tired. Petaluma beat Vintage in Memorial Stadium the first week of January, 3-0. Trojans scored 2 early goals in that one. Got some security in the second half for their 3rd goal. But Petaluma's defense was really the story in that one. Sessi for Petaluma only had to make 5 saves in that one. Vintage never really threatened Petaluma in Napa when they faced. We'll see what adjustments the Crushers make here tonight. Head coach Miguel Ayala for Vintage in his 2nd year. The Crushers much more experience than they had last year. They had a rough year last year, only won 2 games in a good Monticello Empire League. Had more success, but as we mentioned, good start to the year. Looked like they could maybe threaten Petaluma and Casa up top. They've struggled of late, including a 2-0 loss in their last game Wednesday night to American Canyon at Memorial Stadium. Crushers with some energy early here. And it's knocked out. Rocha down the wing. Katrina Rodriguez, one of 4 freshmen to throw it in. She's got a lot of speed, and Coach Deegan Babala for Petaluma might be looking for some more goals here early and a quicker start, which is the reason for Rodriguez getting the start. Officially a defender, but she can play up, as can most of the Petaluma defenders. Goal kick for Vintage.
Petaluma will play it back. And fouled is the Trojan. That would be Herman. Barry, I should say. Trojan senior. Nice ball by Barrett, but couldn't find anyone on the end of that. And talked to Tess Barrett after Petaluma, Tess Lambert, I should say, after Petaluma's last game, home game we were at, 2-0 victory over Sonoma Valley. She talked about high school soccer often just starts very slowly. Petaluma had an especially slow start on Monday. Something they've had, though, throughout the year. They've fallen behind a lot this year and had to come back in the second half. They haven't lost all season. It doesn't mean that they've caused a lot of heart attacks and broken fingernails for Trojan fans. And all that's got to do with not being able to bring the energy to start. But there's no doubt soccer is a feeling out process. The first 10, 15 minutes often of a game. You find that often in all levels of soccer, even if you want to start well. I think the energy is the key. Even if Petaluma can't piece it all together the first couple minutes and get into that rhythm, they want to start better and bring a little bit more energy to the pitch. Did a nice job of that Wednesday. Scored 4 goals in that first half over the lowly Braves in Napa. Crushers so far, nice job controlling the ball in the middle. Petaluma leading possession, but not really good chances for either team yet. Jordan's now playing it forward. Herman. Back to Barry, who gave it a go. Wide right, first shot of the game. But a good rhythm by Petaluma there, 5 minutes in. Barry with 5 goals led Petaluma in scoring last year before she tore her ACL halfway through the year. She can score from long range, but wasn't able to hit that time. Vintage ball goes out. Crushers doing a good job defensively, not giving Petaluma too many chances, but they're going to need a little bit more ball control. Something they struggled with against Petaluma last game. You got to establish a presence in the middle of the pitch. It's so hard, though, against this Petaluma team. One of the best in the business. They know how to win. They haven't lost all season long. And after their victory over Marine Academy on Saturday, they moved back into first place in the back in first place in the NCS Division 3 projected seedings by Max Preps. Those are all computer, but Petaluma could very much win NCS. Go on to state, do special things there. This team is that talented. But the Crushers trying to pull off an upset. Edwards to the speedy Rodriguez. Takes a lucky deflection. Herman to Athena Edwards. Edwards trying to put some mustard on that, but it didn't spiral back to the far post like she would have liked. And it will go for a goal kick. Sun is just set here at Steve Ellison Field. Fog was starting to drift over as it's going to cool down on this late January Friday night. The penultimate home game for Petaluma in the regular season, but they'll likely be back for the NCS playoffs, as was previously mentioned. Trojans will have a big senior night, 9 seniors to honor next Friday night as they take on Napa. And there will be a ceremony to recognize all of them. Always a very special moment for high school sports. Many of these seniors have been on the varsity team 3, 4 years. Built this program to new heights. Frothinger plays it to the middle. Edwards Athena Edwards, the junior, was on JV last year. She has gotten a start in Babala's starting lineup because she likes to shoot from anywhere. Not that she's reckless about it, but she is not afraid to shoot, and she's not afraid to score either. Has some speed as well with those bright orange cleats. Edwards has really carved out a role for her as a striker for Petaluma, especially in the last couple of weeks. Crushers get it forward here. They have not been able to get into a rhythm offensively. All Petaluma these first 8 minutes, but as you would expect, the Trojans working to develop. Edwards the feed, intercepted. Rodriguez just intercepts it. Vintage holding the back line so far, but even if you're patient about it, you got to do better. Frothinger with an impressive run. All sorts of options here. Edwards was bumped. Now she falls loose and wide. Looks like Rocha was the one who eventually got a foot on that. Scramble in the box there. What a move down the flank by Zoe Frothinger, the defender. She's listed as a defender, but she can play up. She has the moves to beat it around just about anyone, and she almost left the entire Vintage defense on the ground there. Caused some chaos in the box. Frothinger, a 3-year junior starter for Petaluma. And told me earlier today that she hadn't scored a goal when I'd been here, and she was greatly desiring to score one on Trojan Live's camera. Herman with speed in the box, fires wide. Hannah Herman with an impressive run of her own to answer Frothinger's, and she nearly spiraled it in the far post, just wide. 2 good chances here for Petaluma in these last couple minutes, and Vintage is on the back foot. Senior co-captain for Petaluma. Now the Crushers can't even control a goal kick right now. And you can tell this team has been in a rough patch of late, and still looks like it at the moment. Crushers just clear it out. They're just kind of trying to hold on already. And they have a long ways to go in this game. 70 minutes, in fact. 2 40-minute halves, high school soccer. Frothinger again, spiraling around, crossing, and the save is made. Nice save by the Crusher keeper. Well alert, her first save of the match. Now, what can the Crushers do with the ball? I've had possession in Petaluma territory about once tonight. This Petaluma defense tight on its screws, and when they're focused, they're nearly unbeatable. Petaluma only allowing 0.392 goals per match. An impressive improvement from last year where they allowed a goal per match. That one fired from far from Barry, just to test the keeper. Petaluma improving on the defensive end with everyone returning. Such an experienced squad, 14 out of 21 returners. They didn't even have a senior night last year because they didn't have any seniors. It's pretty nice when you know for the next year the experience you're going to have. Lambert battling. The Crushers get it forward. A little give and go. And Lambert just has to knock it out. Best offensive opportunity of the evening so far by Vintage, who badly needs something to go their way in this promising season for them that has gone down the drain of late. But they still have time to rescue their year. Had some nice early victories over Wood, Ukiah. So that one cleared away by McGannum. And that one, we'll just head out of play. Crushers in the first half of VVAL, we mentioned it. They really tested the Gauchos. Cost only won 1-0 over Vintage. Good American Canyon team. Vintage beat 3-1. Trojans beat them 3-0 on January 4th to start off the new year. But Vintage still beat their rival Napa, who they lost to twice last year. 2-0 in the first edition of the big game. Edwards fouled. Since then, things have kind of gone awry, though. They had back-to-back draws against Sonoma Valley and Justin Siena, routed by Casa falling 3-0, probably their worst loss of the year to American Canyon on Wednesday night, falling 2-0. Only the second game of the week for the Crushers. Their legs will be a little bit less weary. So if this game is tight late, that's something to watch. It falls to Barry, who's been active early. It's wide to Rodriguez. Edwards, a fancy header. She got low to the turf to head that one on. And it was tricky, bouncing towards the Vintage keeper. But aptly taken away. McGannum nods it forward. Nice play by Rocha. So far, I think Coach Baba has to be happy both with the Trojan energy, but also they haven't relied on Melissa Rocha offensively here early. We've seen a lot of options for them. They've gotten balls in the middle of the pitch, and it's not just been Melissa Rocha out wide to create the entire offense for Petaluma, because they can become one-dimensional that way. Both Rocha herself and head coach Deegan Babal have talked about. They want to see be a little bit more creative offensively, find other options, other ways to score, because if a team can shut down Rocha on the right flank, find a way to contest with her speed and improve touch, there's not much you can do. But Petaluma has shown tonight already they have other options. They haven't scored just yet, but they've gotten awfully close here early. That's knotted out. 15 minutes gone here in the first half. No score on this Friday night from Steve Ellison Field. Only 4 more games in VVAL play remain for Petaluma. 3 more after this one. And Vintage only with 2 more games after this one. They've got the big game next week against Napa, and they finish at Sonoma Valley. Petaluma's still got 2 more weeks of action. Rocha across all the way through. Crysdale will knock it out to Frothinger. She can shoot. She will. Well blocked. The Crushers have dodged some bullets early. They're holding on. Barry. A little too far that time for the talented sophomore Crysdale, who scored on Monday night in Petaluma's 2-0 victory over Sonoma Valley. If you've missed any of our Petaluma Varsity Girls soccer coverage all season long, it's all on our YouTube channel. And we will continue to cover them in the NCS playoffs, and maybe if there's a VVAL clinching game, it would be on the road. We would be there. Barry fires high. That fell to the right girl at the right time, but Barry just unable to finish that time. Hasn't been as prolific scoring so far this year. But the way this one's going, she might get another chance. And Petaluma plays Casa Grande in their next game. You don't want to look forward to that one. It is next week, which I think helps them. On Wednesday night, they'll have some time to prepare for their biggest game of the season and one of the biggest games in Petaluma girls soccer history. Will be at Casa Grande. Those teams tied 1-1 2 weeks ago from tonight. Right here at Steve Ellison Field. We were there for that one. Edwards on sides. No, she's offsides. Well, the flag's on the other side. There it is. There was no whistle right away, and I thought Edwards was in the clear. But the offsides did come. Edwards just a touch too early on that one. But excellent play. Petaluma had two options on that. They just have to time it a little better. Crushers continue to hold the back line, but just barely. Well, it's going to be taxing on this Crushers defense if they have to defend all night long. Their ball possession has maybe been 20% of Petaluma's 80. That really makes it hard as Edwards does an excellent job to deflect that ball. And the vintage keeper has been active early. Ceci hasn't touched it yet. Petaluma's excellent freshman goalkeeper, already with 9 shutouts on the season. What a move by Crysdale down the flank. Petaluma's got numbers. Edwards. Megder. Oh, what a setup that was. Petaluma couldn't complete it. But a beautiful job by the Trojans to get in a goal-scoring opportunity. This team has been apt offensively early. They've been focused technically. It just hasn't developed and worked out just yet. Trojans haven't had their leading goal scorer in just yet. Goggenhauer, Francis Goggenhauer, the senior, will sub out for Barry, who's been active early. Now the Trojans installing their most dangerous weapon on the pitch. Halfway through this first half. Edwards. Crosses. Rocha trying to turn it around. Falls to Rodriguez. She'll give it a go. Not that time. Not enough on it from Katrina Rodriguez, the freshman. It's going to be hard to get a lot of power. She doesn't have the tallest build. She's trying to be nice. She's maybe 5 feet. But she's only a freshman. She's still got room to grow, both in terms of her soccer game and literally. There's plenty of young talent on this Petaluma team, too. They'll continue to thrive. 6 underclassmen, and many of them getting playing time. Obviously, Ceci looks like the longtime goalkeeper for Petaluma. That is something very important to find. If you don't have a good goalkeeper, it can ruin everyone else's effort. Rodriguez, I should say, fell down. That one went all the way through the box. Vintage had a very dangerous opportunity after Rodriguez just slipped on the pitch. And there was a crusher there too, but they couldn't hook up. "18 minutes remaining in the second half. First half, I should say. 0-0 the score here between Vintage and Petaluma. On to Rocha. Pure speed. But she's not stopped up. Rocha has improved her touch so much this year. Dancing outside the box. The feed. Hazel deflects. It's blocked. Trojans with some excellent chances here early. But Vintage has held off his prolific Petaluma offense. Trojans averaging 3.4 goals per match on the season. It's been a little bit down lately. Petaluma struggled to finish a little bit more. They beat Justin Siena the first time around 9-0, and Wednesday, they only beat them 5-0. Not sure in a blowout victory. That's much to point at. But the Trojans haven't scored as much. I think they've, even though their offense can be electric, it's their defense that they truly believe is their strength. They've basically been unscorable. It's very hard to score against Petaluma. Only once this year has Petaluma allowed more than 1 goal on the year. It was in their 3-2 victory to El Cerrito. Comeback for Petaluma in that one. That was one of their more exciting ones of the season. Goes all the way across once again. Rodriguez will clear it. Vintage with a little bit of a surge here, though. An excellent play by Rocha to box out the Crusher. She's got Edwards streaking down the middle. Edwards did look off sides, and Rocha looked like she might have been fouled, and I believe she was, or it was knocked out. Either way, it's going to be Petaluma ball. And the Trojans avert a couple issues up on the defensive end that give Vintage its best chances of the evening. Petaluma still with 4 more games after this, but it's coming down the home stretch. Decide who will take home a VVAL pennant. Casa Grande on a bye. And this slate of VVAL games here tonight. They will next game is against Petaluma on Wednesday night. If the Trojans win here tonight, they'll be back tied up atop the league standings. As Crysdale's corner is knocked out. A second chance for the sophomore. Set across and wide. Guggenhauer nearly finished. Edwards tried to go up high and land a spectacular header, but it fell right to Guggenhauer's foot. She does not miss that much. Might be a little cold coming off the bench. She's only spent about 5 minutes in the game. Coach Babal has mixed up his lineup a little bit for this one. Might be in part because of some tired limbs. The third game in 5 days for the Trojans. And the fourth game in 7 days. They played last Saturday against Marin Academy. This varsity girls soccer team been a bright spot in what's been a rough year so far for Petaluma High sports. The varsity girls soccer team and wrestling team both remain without a loss in VVAL. Same cannot be said for the boys soccer team, as Lambert makes an excellent move. Or either boys or girls basketball teams, and it wasn't a great year for fall starts for Petaluma either. But we knew this girls soccer team was going to be something special. And after they routed Deonza 9-0, a team they faced in NCS last year, and beat 7-2, and they probably could have scored more than 9 in that game. And we knew there was something special brewing at Steve Ellison Field for girls soccer. And it's developed all year. Petaluma has refused to lose. All the way back to Ceci, who was probably feeling a little bit bored. She could have read a couple chapters of her book for her English class if she'd liked back there. And Trojans trying to get her involved. Rocha just takes the ball away from the Crusher. She's fouled, but the ref decides it's too cold to take out his whistle tonight. 13 minutes left in the first half. Still no score. Trojans started this game off hot. Vintage has done a nice job in the last 10-15 minutes to neutralize this Petaluma attack and give themselves some own chances on their end. Hasn't really generated anything. This is a great opportunity for Petaluma. Edwards wide. Somehow, Athena Edwards doesn't have a goal this year. It's remarkable how much she's involved in the offense, and that's the case. She nearly netted at that time. Just one assist for the junior forward. But out of the 7 newcomers on this Petaluma team that returned 2/3 of the squad from last year, she's had by far the biggest impact, along with Ceci, of course. Starkey, who just entered, battling hard. Rocha also just entered on the defensive end, will take it away. Amanda Rocha trying to feed it to her twin sister, Melissa. Two of the foundations of building this powerhouse in girls soccer on the west side. That one spirals away. Coach Babal wanted to rest some players, but I think he's realized quickly here, Vintage is in for a fight, and this is not going to be an easy one here tonight. We knew that. Vintage was desperate for a victory. They're nearing the end of their season. They're also fighting for an NCS playoff spot in Division 1. Currently ranked 18th by Max Preps. And they know they have the talent and experience to put it all together. Good communication, especially. They learned a lot from a rough year last year. Guggenhauer all the way through. And kicks it to a kid, but that's not who you're looking for.
Let's go, Hannah!
Vintage was just 2-12-1 last year and 1-9 in the Monticello Empire League. They have already far surpassed that this year. Miguel Ayala, second year as head coach, often a lot easier than your first year. Year of adjustments, and he was dealing with an extremely young team last year. Crysdale making women miss. Ahead to Rocha. Beautiful ball, it's scored! Twins hook up for a spectacular first goal, and a huge hug for Amanda and Melissa Rocha. That was special from the two girls who grew up playing soccer together, born on the same day, lived in the same household. Their connection goes deeper than team lines. It's family, literally and figuratively. Melissa Rocha continues her tear in goal scoring. She had a hat trick on Wednesday night against Justin Sienna. And there's nothing like getting your sister to help you out. She now has 9 goals, and she's tied with Frances Guggenhauer for the lead in Petaluma goal scoring. The Trojans looking for more, and the Crushers clear it out. Melissa Rocha's goal scored in the 30th minute to make it 1-0. Amanda Rocha on the assist. This Trojan team stares the ball. Crysdale is fouled, and they're going to play advantage, and now they're going to come back. And Crysdale looks to be in some pain. The sophomore holding her groin. Her glutes, I should say. She might need some assistance. Trojans have mostly avoided the injury bug this year after leading goal scorer Kendra Berry went out for the rest of the year last year, and that really cost them the rest of the way. Crysdale looks like she's going to be able to play through this. Lambert, the defensive star and co-captain for Petaluma, will take this free kick. Trojans would love to put this game away by the opening whistle. Dangerous, and it goes all the way through and out, eliciting a gasp from this healthy crowd at Steve Ellison Field. Good about 50 to 100 supporters have populated the purple Steve Ellison stands, but Crushers fans have maybe brought about 30 to make the 45-minute to an hour drive east from beautiful Napa. Now the Crushers respond, trailing by 1, and they've already had a rough year. They fought valiantly. They've actually given themselves a couple chances opportunity-wise. Defensively, have been able to stave off most chances. It really took a very well-orchestrated setup for Petaluma to finally score their goal. Goalkeeping's been good. Have a response. Or will Petaluma keep it going with another W tonight? Lambert unable to clear it. Last-ditch defending by Petaluma to clear it. They're not out of the woods just yet. A Vintage fan's getting something to scream about, and then Alondra Hernandez-Ramirez intercepted it. The Crushers still pressing, and now Starkey having to clear it. Well, Vintage can challenge Petaluma here and start to make them work. It's going to keep this game close. It's going to keep things interesting. Trojans don't have any desire to do that, but for Vintage, this is a must-win to keep their season afloat.
Do it again, Ben! Get it! Good job! There you go, Amanda.
Rocha. This is Amanda. Was looking for Herman open. Nice job by Vintage to intercept that. Petaluma's done much better job about being precise with their passes tonight. They've been very accurate. Not like on Monday night when we saw them against Sonoma Valley. A lot of interceptions. A lot of passes too telegraphed. Not tonight. Great moves. This is a shot wide. And the Crushers building some offense right outside the box. I want to make Ceci work, not that time. But progress by Vintage. 5 minutes remaining here in this first half. Petaluma needing 1-0. Some substitutions. Gogenhauer out. Lauren Hazel will re-enter. Petaluma's leading goal scorer from last year after Barry went out for the rest of the year, the junior. Hackett falls nearly all the way to Rocha. Petaluma ball. That one a little bit too tall. Look out on the street. This beautiful, still less than a year old, renovated Steve Ellison Field has already been home to a lot of good moments in girls soccer. Obviously some exciting moments in boys lacrosse last year. Chance for a lot more magic in the next month or so. Frothinger plays it out. See, the NCS playoffs start February 13th. It'll be Wednesday and Saturday. If Petaluma gets all the way to the championship game, that would be February 23rd, a Saturday, played at a neutral site. Petaluma's a 1 or a 2 seed. They'll have home field advantage all the way to the championship game. Trojans won NCS, or even if they fell short somewhere else, they could still get an invite to the CIF state playoffs, which will start February 26th and continue into March. Herman Streaking down the left side, it's taken away from her. And the Vintage Crushers haven't let Petaluma do it alone. They've needed to pass the ball if they wanted to score. Herman battling again. 35 assists for Petaluma on 44 goals coming in. And you could make that 45 goals and 36 assists with today's goal. This team shares the ball. They don't do a lot of mano-a-mano. And Vintage has made sure of that tonight. Drones are going to get their second corner. They nearly scored on the first. Goggenauer had an excellent look. Try to get to double digits in scoring on the year for the senior. Delicate corner. Solid contact. Unable that time. Barry. Wide left. Under 2 minutes, and the clock will be up to the ref's discretion. The scoreboard goes still here at Steve Ellison Field. Only 1-0 here. Petaluma needs another goal to really secure the locks on this game. Petaluma scored 2 goals in the first half back on January 4th. Take a 2-0 lead at halftime. Cruised to a victory in the second half. Added a goal in the second half. Defense was dominant. Didn't give Vintage a lot of chances. Been similar tonight. Ceci only had to make 4 saves in that one. She doesn't have the save yet in this one. Petaluma's controlled the offense that much. And they've pushed up, too, because they can. Rocha, the defender, to her sister. Hazel is fouled. No call. Petaluma with another opportunity. And the Crushers holding on by a thread here. They just need to get it to the break, take a breather, and try to go at it for another 40 minutes, find a goal, and get what would be a satisfying draw on the road. Grisdale, sophomore, played as a freshman last year and had an impact. It's Frothinger. Couldn't find anyone on the end of that. Barry right to the keeper. Vintage trying to get one last attack here. The seniors, Starkey battling hard, and then I don't know what they were trying to do there. It's not going to work. Ceci is more like a brick wall and an opening into the net. She's barely been tested tonight. That was her first save all game. It's in that kind of dominance for Petaluma, but Vintage is hanging on in there. We've reached the end of 40 minutes. It's the Petaluma Trojans 1, the Vintage Crushers 0. We are ready to go. The start of the second half here. Petaluma very loose over the break. Head coach Deegan Mabal in his third year talking with his team, and then there was a little extra time. Confident the team can add an insurance goal. Athena Edwards and Lauren Hazel were practicing their chest bump with a couple minutes to go. It wasn't going so well. But so far, the goal scoring's been pretty good for Petaluma this year. The celebrations might need a little bit more work, but I bet they'll get there. Vintage very focused over halftime. Mickey Ayala in his second year with the Crushers, trying to will them to a goal. They had a rough night on Wednesday night at American Canyon, a team they beat 3-1 previously. They lost 2-0, gave up an early goal to the player of the year in Napa County last year. It was on American Canyon, and then we're hanging around in the second half before their goalkeeper was ejected trying to go out and play a ball, called for a penalty, as Edwards will cross this ball, dangerous, just out of the reach of Hazel. Well, they were hitting chest bumps at halftime, and they nearly connected on a goal. The Vintage game on Wednesday, goalkeeper was ejected. Penalty kick was made 2-0. Had to go in with a backup goalkeeper. It was just a bad night overall for the Crushers, just to add to their frustration. A second straight loss. That one dangerous and nearly bobbled by that force. Said keeper for the Crushers. We have no roster for them, unfortunately, tonight. See what adjustments Vintage has made to try to get some offense going. I think being a little bit more patient, knocking it back to their defenders is needed for Vintage, as you're seeing here. Getting into a rhythm offensively and building something. That's what's vital in soccer. They can try to do it on the counter, but in the end, that's going to be too exhausting. It's going to open them up on the back end. Slow march up the field like this gets you a chance at a corner, as they will, and gets people in the box much more productive and a chance for a goal. And patience will get Vintage back in this game. For Petaluma, it's continuing to bring the energy up, find that finishing touch. They've been around the goal, have won, but they can't stop pushing. They need another one. This one's set in. Not too dangerous, but you get a second shorter corner. That's all the more dangerous. It's booted towards the visiting bleachers. 37 more minutes of action on this Friday night from Steve Ellison Field. Fog has been drifting over. It's a chilly one now in late January. Spring sports start on Monday for NCS and here at Petaluma High. Some of these players who play spring sports will have to wait. It's going to be a full spring sports season. There's going to likely be it's going to be tough for some teams in the new VVAL, but it's also going to be exciting, I think, for some teams, such as the baseball and softball teams who really ruled SCL last year. I think they're going to be up to the challenge this year, just like this girls' soccer team has been. We'll, of course, have full coverage of spring sports teams as we go on. I've already got a couple baseball and softball live streams scheduled up for you and hope to make it out here to Steve Ellison Field for some lacrosse as well. Crysdale had dreams. Got close to about 20 yards out, which is where she stored her second half goal on Monday night that broke a deadlock with Sonoma Valley. Nice play by Muganum defensively. Barry. She's got options, but maybe she can just do it herself. She's that talented a player. Fouled and still going. Into the purple box. Crossing. Edwards. Wide. Edwards so close to scoring one. Just missed it wide left that time. Five minutes gone in this first half. Vintage with just one shot on goal so far. Ceci hasn't been busy. Petaluma scored in the 30th minute, and it was Rocha to Rocha. Amanda Rocha with a brilliant pass to Melissa Rocha, who easily slotted it away to give Petaluma the lead 1-0. Trojans have controlled this game, but they haven't had too many opportunities around the box. Vintage has done a nice job crowding the box and making Petaluma work, and the Trojans are going to have to continue to build and break the puzzle. Our Crushers are going to have to continue to be creative offensively, get some control, and bring off the stress on their defense. The later this game goes, and the more the style remains the same, I think the more challenging it gets. If you're the defense, to hold up, and frustrating too, as this is scored! Spectacular by Hazel! Absolutely remarkable stuff from the right foot of Lauren Hazel. The cross was as superb from Rocha. We talked about this Vintage defense making things hard. That one was just offense being better than defense. A perfect pass right to Hazel, and she stayed composed, falling over and slotting it away. No chance for the goalkeeper. Unbelievable. Goal scored in the 47th minute of the second half, and the Trojans have gotten their insurance they so badly wanted early on here to take a 2-0 lead. Two spectacular goals here tonight by Petaluma. it was not going to take the ordinary to beat this Vintage defense. There's enough experience, enough good communication. The Workers won to beat it. Now the Trojans have a flair for the dramatic and a flair for the spectacular. Barry trying to go right back at it, intercepted. Again, to scout this Trojans team communication as well. They're pretty loud on the pitch. All the experience, you have 14 returners on this team. Very advantageous as Edwards got an opportunity here. She slips and falls. Face down on the turf. Just can't finish. Just try to get a little bit too fancy there. This is a slick turf. Gets dewy late at night here. As the temperature plunges into the 40s. Trojans had 10 returners last year, 14 on this squad. That's a remarkable level of experience, especially in soccer where we have to play as one, know each other. That connection has really shown, and it's really shined both offensively and I think even more importantly defensively, where the back line has to be one back line and not 4 different players. But offensively, you have to connect too and build. Petaluma's just going to let that one go. Does Vintage have a response? Down 2. They can't fall behind 3 to have any hope. Even 2 is a big deficit to make up. Ceci will field that one cleanly, like a shortstop on the softball team. Couldn't be smoother with it. Probably just happy to get involved, though if you're not very involved as a goalkeeper, that is typically a good thing for your team. Means things are going pretty well ball possession-wise and being in control of the game. Rocha all the way across, wide open is Barry. She fires off the post. That one was falling fast, and if she had been maybe a foot farther out, it might have just snuck in the bottom of the post. A great buildup by Petaluma, and Barry was as wide open as can be, totally unmarked, and nearly gave the Trojans their third. Excellent energy and offensive setup here early by Petaluma to give themselves more chances to finish. This team plays confidently, acts confidently, walks confidently. They know what's up. Rocha. So fun to watch. Was looking for Edwards, but it's poked away. So they continue to push. This is not a team with mercy. Petaluma has 2 9-0 victories on this season. We were there for the opener against Dianza, and then their VVAL opener against Justin Siena, also 9-0. Trojans will rout you and send you home with your tail between your legs. It's a good practice to have, to play with full intensity, especially when you get to NCS and they're playing top teams. They need to play with that intensity day in and day out, every game. VVAL, with more parity than the SCL, even if it's not stronger at top, has helped with that. Vintage trying to develop something, but unable to get that last boot in. That last pass. It deflects. Rocha unable to run it down, looking for a brace, her second goal tonight after a hat trick on Wednesday. The athletic trainer Ann made a nice play there. I was right off the chest. Hit a new athletic trainer here at Petaluma High School, and Petaluma was out without an athletic trainer for its sports teams last year. Is Barry from way downtown. That one 35 yards out. Will be a little short. Petaluma without an athletic trainer last year, and to have Ann around, he's basically at every home sporting event. He'll travel on the road sometimes too. So helpful, especially for more physical sports, such as football and basketball. Have him around, but any athlete can go to him after school, from cross country to golf to badminton to swimming. And he can really help you, shape you up. Injuries are a thing. It's a big, big out for all the sports teams, and he's been at most girls' soccer games, even out in this cold. It's not something too many people besides supporting parents want to come out to. Students you can normally count on about one hand, which I would say you can again tonight. Though a lot of nights there's been competing home basketball games, not the case here tonight. Boys team this one is fired well wide. Boys basketball team on the road at Vintage in Napa. It's been a up and down season for the boys basketball team for certain. They're 3-4 in VVAL. Had a nice victory against Sonoma Valley on Monday and then got destroyed against a previously winless Justin Siena team by 35 points on Wednesday. You just have no idea what you're going to see from them. The inconsistency is frustrating as a fan for sure. Not a problem with the girls' soccer team. Vintage starting to open things up, starting to take some shots. They know they need to score, and they need to score fast to cut this to a one-goal game and give them a chance in the second half of the second half. It's so hard to find a goal, though. Sassy has been dominant this year in Nat. 13 games, only 5 goals allowed by her. She's made 67 saves, and she just gives up .392 goals per game. She's played all but 20 minutes of every Petaluma game. She was taken out in the last 20 minutes of the Dionza opener just to get some rest. She's a rock back there. Rocha looking once again for Edwards, not that time. Rocha looking for shutout number 10 here tonight. One of her most impressive games. I mean, she carried Petaluma to a victory on Saturday, and the Trojans' best victory of the season. So they get it out to Rocha. She has Edwards, but Rocha will send it wide. The goalkeeper had come out. You saw her flashing in there, the red jersey, and all Rocha had to do was finish. If Edwards had just been able to run that down, it would have been a wide open net for the easiest possible first goal of her varsity career. But not that time. Probably an ill-advised decision by the goalkeeper for the Crushers there. Dodges the bullet. What a move! Crysdale wide. How did Crysdale split all those defenders? I'll never know. But the star, sophomore for Petaluma, one of those better underclassmen for the Trojans, nearly scored her 6th goal of the season. Mentioned head coach Deegan Babal making some adjustments, as Ann's pretty excited about his nice fielding play. He's 36, 14, and 6 overall. It's a remarkable record for head coach Deegan Babala in his 3rd year. As Edwards is taken down, we might be seeing a card coming out. Our refs don't take out cards too much in girls soccer. All right, it's not going to be this time, but Edwards is going to have to mend herself. Trojans are going to get a free kick at the 17-yard line of this football field. Obviously, the goal 5 more yards back, so it's 23 yards out. Crysdale spiraling. You needed a head maybe on the end of that one to make it a challenge. It's still 2-0. But right now, it feels hard to see that Vintage has 2 goals in them. Offsides. a ball in his 3rd season, and really been able to settle in as a coach. He had his first year 2 years ago. Petaluma was still playing in the fall, as were all the Sonoma County girls soccer teams, but most large schools had already moved to winter, and there was no state playoffs. Next year moving to winter, so last year was the adjustment, first year in winter soccer. Still with a younger team, though a lot of returners, and obviously a successful year last year. They were 15-6-2 overall, 10-2-2 in SCL, went to the quarterfinals of NCS, where they lost a tight one, 1-0 to Kennedy. And they were ranked 250th in California, as it's just knocked away by the keeper. There's an open goal if Petaluma can run it down. Now it's closed. Herman nearly was able to get it by the vintage keeper. Herman's going to try again. She's got options. She'll find Frothinger, who's had a big game. Cleared away. We mentioned it. Frothinger said she was going to score a goal tonight. Hernandez was wide. That would have been spectacular from Alondra Hernandez Ramirez. And she just missed wide left from way out, that she caught the keeper in a bad spot. Hernandez Ramirez looking for her first goal of the season. The senior midfielder, quietly one of the better players for Petaluma, really controls the ball in the middle of the pitch as Roach's pass deflects. So we are nearing the halfway point of this second half, and Petaluma leading Vintage 2-0. It was Amanda Rocha to Melissa Rocha in the 30th minute to make it 1-0. The Trojans answered early in the second half with Melissa Rocha, spectacular cross to find Lauren Hazel's right foot, who slotted it away. That made it 2-0. Petaluma defense has taken no prisoners tonight. They've given Vintage no chances, just 2 shots on goal for the Crushers. Cross over the bar. Hazel nearly had her second. Another cross down that right side, and we talked about trying not to rely on Rocha, did the Trojans on that right side. They've had a lot of players on the right side tonight. Frothinger, both Rochas. They've gotten players in the box, and it's given Vintage trouble. They've struggled to mark everyone. The Trojans could have added a couple more if they were just able to place it on net. Always things to work on and improve. This Trojan team coming off last Saturday, its most impressive result, I'd say, this season. A 1-1 draw against Marin Academy, a top 40 team in the country ranked by Max Preps, top 20 in the state, and they tied them 1-1. Petaluma scoring the goal late in the second half, Eleanor Burnett, but Savannah Sessi carried them to the victory. 15 saves in that one. And Marin Academy just was unable, the Wildcats just could not find a way to get past Sessi after they scored an early one. They had a lot of chances. They probably outplayed Petaluma in that one, as you expect. One of the elite soccer teams in the Bay Area and in all of California. A team that went to state last year in CIF and very much could again this year. But Petaluma was very competitive with Marin Academy and got a draw, a huge result for their NCS chances, and Petaluma can get a result against the Gauchos on Wednesday, and all likelihood, I think they'll be a 1 seed in NCS for the first time in school history. Edwards battling, and a late takeout again. They have not called those. Vintage has had some inadvisable slides here tonight. And the refs don't feel like getting involved, leading Petaluma in control of this one 2-0. It looks like there is now going to be a conversation. The ref might have heard me. A good idea to have a discussion. The Vintage player apologizing for her evils. That might be a strong word, but goal kick. 18 minutes remaining in the second half. Petaluma leading 2-0 from Steve Ellison Field. We will next be covering a sporting event Tuesday night. Next week, Tuesday and Wednesday, it's the second round of Egg Bowls in all sports. Wrestling the first round, 5 different varsity matches between Casa and Petaluma in the span of 2 days. If you're a Petaluma sports fan, and that's not heaven, I don't know what will be. I'll be at the Ed Jacopi Gym on the east side. Varsity girls basketball looking to break a 11-year and 13-game losing streak to Casa Grande. Wednesday night, we'll be live from the Petaluma High School gym for varsity wrestling, Casa Grande and Petaluma. Both teams undefeated in VVAL, last varsity wrestling match, dual match of the season. Won't decide a league title, but go a long way towards it. Obviously, as will the girls' soccer match that will happen the same night. We'll give you updates on wrestling of that. But if you're at the girls' soccer match, you can want to watch the wrestling match live. It'll be there. And if you're concerned about missing the boys' basketball game, Casa and Petaluma, Trojans trying to get revenge on a crushing defeat 2 weeks ago to the Gauchos. My good friend and broadcast partner, Peter Canali, will be at the Ed Jacopi Gym calling the action for Casa and Petaluma in boys' basketball. It'll be an exciting week for PHS Sports next week. Barry Edwards is on sides, all alone. Is this the one? Not that time. Cleared away in a corner. No, Edwards just needs a touch more speed. She'd be in on net, and it would be one-on-one. Trojans looking for their 11th victory of the season. They haven't lost all season long. And some people could argue that that's a bad thing, that you learn from losing and they have things to take away. Dangerous corner is wide. Edwards again in the area. There'll be another corner. It's the third of the second half and the 5th overall for the Trojans. Petaluma has fought through adversity. They've come back from deficits 3 times this year to get results. And it felt like as they give it to Frothinger, who fires towards the corner wide. Oh, she's trying to get that goal on Trojan Live. She talked about it. That one nearly found the top right-hand corner. Petaluma felt like kind of they lost the game to Casa Grande. So we're going to have a couple substitutions here, as will Vintage. Petaluma drawed with Casa in the game on our YouTube channel, but it was no goal by Sarah Ramstad of Casa Grande with 2 minutes remaining in the game to tie it. And Trojans were, I don't know if they were outplayed. It was a pretty even game, but it really felt like Casa gave the game to Petaluma, and otherwise the Trojans would have lost. I definitely learned from that one and came out with a vengeance, and are going to be ready to face the Gauchos on Wednesday. What a game that is going to be. Casa and Petaluma, it should be a thrilling atmosphere at the Casa Grande field on the east side. It's hard. It's going to compete with both wrestling and basketball, so I don't know how the crowd will be, but the intensity was very high, even though there was rain. It was raining at points in their game 2 weeks ago on a Friday night, and there wasn't a massive crowd. The intensity on the field was intense throughout. Both teams played well, really neutralized a lot of each other's strength. Frances Gogenauer was really shut down for Petaluma. She barely got to touch the ball. It was a good game plan by Casa, so it'll be interesting to see if they try to... Vintage is going to get a corner here. Petaluma giving some chances to the Crushers. It'll be interesting to see if Casa will continue to shut down Gogenauer or if the Trojans have some adjustments that they can make to get Gogenauer involved and get their offense more involved, because it was a struggle to get their offense involved against the Green and Gold. And the defense was strong. 1 goal scored. Ceci was very good. 10 saves in that one. But the Petaluma offense never really got into a rhythm in that game. Dingababal has been a mastermind for this Petaluma Varsity Girls soccer program. He's certainly an inherited talent and experience, but he has put all the right pieces in all the right places. Probing corner couldn't be much more dangerous. It hung up in the air in a good spot forever. Frothinger will clear it. So this Trojan team looking for another shutout to add to its resume. Looking for Rocha up top. Nice defensive play. Abigail Sanchez, backup freshman midfielders, just entered for the Trojans. Callie Sullivan as well. Sophomore, some of the reserves on the Trojans getting some experience. Nice move by Starkey. She's been involved in a lot tonight. Ahead to Herman. Herman knocked away. Excellent pass forward. Herman streaking down the middle with her speed, but unable to finish. "12 minutes remaining on a chilly Friday night here from the west side of Petaluma. Steve Ellison Field. It's Varsity Girls Soccer Vintage in Petaluma. 2-0 lead for the Trojans. Looking to stay undefeated in VVAL and keep pace with the Gauchos. Casa Grande playing America Canyon tonight as that one Rocha got a foot on, but it was awkward, off an awkward bounce off the corner and easily fielded by the Vintage goalkeeper, who's fought her tail off tonight, no doubt. Chances for Vintage, but she's swallowed up by purple and white. That's what the Crushers have seen, a lot of purple throughout this game. Nice pass out wide. Vintage trying to get something going. It deflects. And I believe that will be a corner. Only the Crushers' second of the game. I've certainly picked up the intensity, and Petaluma's done a nice job throughout this one, not giving Crushers really any chances or any possession. But last 5 or so minutes, Vintage has finally gotten something going. Current VVAL standings: Casa 7-0-1, Petaluma 6-0-1 coming into today. Casa hosting American Canyon, who currently sits tied with Sonoma for 3rd place, both at 3-3-2. And this one is scored! Vintage is back in this one. A great corner. We saw a good corner a couple minutes ago. This one even better. No shutout tonight, and all of a sudden it's a 1-goal game. That's the leading scorer for the Crushers. Not the player you want rising above everyone else. Iris Hernandez, the senior leading scorer the last 2 years for Vintage. She's helped build this program, and she has suddenly put Vintage back in this game, in a game that seemed totally in Petaluma's control. The Trojans will have to get all their starters back out there. A remarkable turn of events, seemingly out of nothing, but it was a nice job by Vintage increasing their intensity, and the Trojans were unable to answer it. Starkey looking for Herman, trying to battle. Petaluma needs to bring up their intensity. Now, if you're them, you want to add another insurance goal. They've certainly had opportunities to make it 3, but they just haven't been able to finish it off. Frothinger battling. Oh, she's such an excellent defender. Handles the ball well. Speeding down the wing, and it's knocked out. The Trojans can help control it. That should be helpful. I'm going to see a couple substitutions. The Trojans are going to get Hazel and Rocha, 2 of their most experienced players, back in it. Sanchez and Sullivan suddenly got a view of some intense moments. Under 9 minutes to go. The Crushers are going to need to press. Time is not their friend, but they've shown they can score in a flurry. And all they need is one. A draw would be devastating for Petaluma. We just went over the standings. They would need a victory on Wednesday, and they'd also be coming off with a bitter taste in their mouth if they did not get a W here tonight. Edwards looking for a streaking Rocha. It's just a little bit too far. The speediest player in VVAL, and she might just be the player of the year in VVAL. We'll have to wait another month or so for that, but Rocha's just that talented as a junior. This game has suddenly taken a turn for the intense. Crowd was relaxed, players look relaxed. Petaluma was in control, just coasting to another victory. But Vintage said, hey, we got some experience. We need a win tonight, or at least a draw. We need a result to turn around our season as they near the end. Proud program. They have answered. Does Petaluma have an answer of their own? Starkey lost it. Danger. Crossing over. Lambert pokes it out. That was in the box, too, if there was a foul, but it was all ball, or at least it appeared. The Trojans can't clear it. Vintage has got another chance. Shrieks from the Vintage bench. All the momentum in the mahogany and white side. The Trojans need a goal and some possession to shut down Vintage. Petaluma's been 80-20 in possession throughout this game, not in the last 15 minutes. Frothinger. Down the wing, doing it herself. Crossed. Herman back out. Frothinger across. And Hazel had it on her right foot. A chance to put this game away, but it was a tough bounce. It skipped up on her and unable to finish. Well, that's more of what you want to see if you're the Trojans. With 6 minutes remaining, Vintage already with a good opportunity to equalize this game. Hazel has a goal tonight. Right now, that's the difference. A goal just 5 minutes into the second half, and what has suddenly turned into a tight 2-1 affair. We knew this Vintage team could give Petaluma some trouble. It's a dangerous game style. Sit back, counterattack, play tight defense. It's broken down recently for Vintage, but they pieced it back up together tonight. Rocha all the way to Edwards, who was nearly there to salt it away, but suddenly the Trojans are pressing again and playing hard and playing, I think, a little bit angry. They're not happy that they let in that goal. It's only their third goal they've given up in VVAL, and they've only obviously given up, have not given up too many goals over the course of the year. Just that one a little bit too far. Just 5 goals coming in. That'll be the 6th goal that was given up by the Petaluma defense and Savannah Sessi. Not much she could do, obviously, on that header. Scored in the 70th minute. Hernandez Ramirez, the striking Rocha. She needs a cross. Beautiful stop. Centers. Knocked up in the air. Edwards scores! Athena Edwards. Are they not calling this a goal? They are not calling us a goal. That ball looked inside the post. They don't have automatic replay, unfortunately, or any goal line technology like they do in professional soccer. But I think the rest decision would have been reversed on that one, and Edwards will have to continue to be frustrated because she seems so close to scoring, and that time I think she did. The ref just didn't award it. Pressure here, Muganum, a 3-year starter on defense, battling with contact. She's fouled, and there's no call. Muganum will call it for. The reffing has been suspect at times tonight, and a major mistake there not to call that goal when everyone thought it was a goal. Frothinger's got some room. It's cleared away, but Petaluma will push it up, push players up, and keep pressure on Vintage here. Well, the Trojans have no doubt ratcheted up the intensity and given themselves a chance, and you just wish they had maybe done this a little bit more and not let Vintage back into this game. There's only 3.5 minutes remaining in this second half. Time running out on a Crushers comeback. Frothinger all the way through. Rocha nearly got on the end of that one. Now you need a race back if you're the Petaluma defense. They're continuing to have their defensive players play forward, but it does give Vintage some chances, especially when they push forward themselves. Rocha. It's crossed away by this tight back line for Vintage. They haven't let too much go by. Alondra Hernandez-Ramirez. Gogenauer's recently entered, back to her friend Frothinger. Frothinger so good technically. All Hazel could do was get a foot on it and right into the reliable hands of the Vintage goalkeeper. 2:30 remaining. 1-goal game. It's been an intense final minutes here from Steve Ellison Field. Petaluma 2, Vintage 1. It was Iris Hernandez in the 70th minute, who's here with it now, that scored to cut the lead in half and suddenly make this one very interesting. Rocha. We're under 2 here. The scoreboard will stop, and it's up to the ref's discretion. Does Vintage have a goal at the death? Petaluma scored one 2 weeks ago to get a tie with Vintage. Muganum. Back to Lambert. Frothinger. You got to be patient here if you're Petaluma, but Vintage intercepts it. They have to be aggressive. Trojans have only allowed 2 goals in a game once all year. We mentioned it earlier. It was a 3-2 victory to El Cerrito. Beautiful move down the flank. Here's an opportunity for Vintage. Muganum battling it, falls to Lambert. Frothinger clears. Here's a shot, high, spiraling over the bar. The chaotic final minutes. We talked about the Trojans having a flair for the dramatic a little bit too much tonight, I would say, if you're a purple and white fan. Lambert will give it a good boot. She's likely headed college bound to play soccer. Outstanding defensive player. Trojans have just about another minute as Edwards spins by, looking for Rocha. It's a little bit wide, and she's offsides anyways. What a move by Athena Edwards. I don't know if it's the cleats or the jeans, but she's awfully talented. The keeper will rush up and kick it. Time has to be under a minute, though the ref has certainly been courteous to Vintage tonight. Likely disallowed what should have been a 3rd goal for Petaluma to put this game away. Hit the bottom of the post. Athena Edwards headed her. Looked like it landed inside the box. The Vintage keeper knocked it out, but it certainly looked like it was inside the post from our camera angle. And basically everyone on the field thought it was, except for the referee. Look at the Vintage players. Just cleared away by the Crushers, and Petaluma will happily take that now. All you want, if you're the Trojans, is the clock to slowly tick away. But it is some of the slowest 2 minutes, likely, of head coach Deegan Babal in this whole team's life. This vital game with a VVAL pennant implications on the line. Gogenauer deflects, and that is it. Petaluma holds on, and they'll get the victory here tonight to keep pace with Casa Grande atop VVAL. Next up, it's Casa Grande, and the two top teams in the Vine Valley will face off. This one got a lot more interesting than Petaluma would have liked late, but in the end, the Trojans pull out a victory. The final score, Petaluma 2, Vintage 1. Interviews are next.
All right, we are here with Amanda Roach after Petaluma holds off Vintage 2-1, and that game got tight there at the end. Why was Vintage able to get back in the game, and what do you learn from that?
I think we just kind of had like an overconfidence moment where we were already up 2-0, so we kind of like relaxed a little bit, and like obviously it's never good to relax because anything can always happen. So just little mistakes that we can easily fix, and that'll help us next time to improve and not let things throw us.
You're able to connect with your twin sister for the opening goal. Had you done that before, and how special was that moment for the two of you?
Yeah, we actually done that a couple of times. It's kind of funny. I know her, she knows me. We obviously grew up together, so like we're easily able to like rely on each other. And I don't know, it was just cool, like opening goal of the game, like just coming out all our motivation, and yeah.
Is there a special dynamic when you two are on the pitch? Because it does seem like you guys, even passing-wise, have a special bond together, obviously being twins.
Yeah, there definitely is because, like I said before, we know each other very well. Like me playing that cross back to her, I knew she was going to be there. And I know that she knows how fast I can go. I know how fast she can go. We know each other very well, so that really helps us improve our game.
You're part of this really experienced Petaluma core. How have you guys used your experience throughout this season, and now that every game has so much pressure riding on it with a VVAL pennant and then NCS on the line, how are you going to use that going forward?
Well, we're all experienced. We've all played together, like you said. And I don't know, it just gives like an extra confidence to us because we know that we can get after it. We know we can win these games. So we just kind of go into it each game. We're like, okay, let's play our game. Let's be calm. We can get this in the end.
Thank you so much, Amanda. The head coach, Deegan Babal, after Petaluma outlast Vintage 2-1. You guys had a really strong start to this game. Let Vintage back in there. Was it a drop of intensity that got Vintage back into this game?
No, I mean, I let the girls know, like, if we finish some of the chances early on, kind of put the game to bed, it probably would have, made it a little bit easier at the end. Anytime you let a team hang in, 2 goals difference and, they score a goal off a set piece, the last few minutes end up getting a little bit crazy anyway. So I think we played well. I think just, putting it down to finishing our chances earlier would have saw it out a little bit easier.
It's so hard to be consistent. You guys haven't lost a single game all season long. You're the only team in NCS Division 3 to do that. Really remarkable accomplishment so far. How have you guys been able to be so consistent every game, every game?
I mean, I think it helps having a lot of just quality players, smart players that can do a lot of different jobs. We're always really flexible. If we're missing players, a lot of schools end up having to make adjustments because of injuries or sickness or, players not playing super well. But we have enough players that anytime someone's having an off day, we can have someone come in and do a good job. So I think that has helped us out a lot.
So much pressure on the line for your next game on Wednesday against Casa, VVAL title, against your rival. What do you tell the team before they go out on the pitch for that one?
It's all the mental state that you go into the game with. I think we've proven plenty of times that we play great soccer, and in my opinion, I think the way we play is oftentimes better than how other teams we play, including Casa. So I've just let them know, look, it's a game that you should really enjoy playing. We don't come out here to enjoy the 10-0s that we win, but it's all the big ones against your rivals, against your friends that you should really look forward to. So as long as players are out here working their hardest and enjoying the moment, I think we can produce really good soccer.
Thank you so much, Coach. That's going to do it here from Steve Ellison Field, where Petaluma gets the 2-1 victory over Vintage. Trojans had a strong effort tonight. Vintage did get back in the game with the late goal, but overall, as Coach Deegan Babala said, is satisfied with the effort once again tonight. Petaluma's been so consistent day in and day out, and that's why they're sitting at the top of VVAL with the Gauchos. They haven't lost a game all season, and they're also at the top of NCS. So much talent on this team, and it ended up being a good game tonight. Vintage, we knew they could provide a fight, and they definitely did. Petaluma will need to work on its finishing. They definitely will on Wednesday night when they play Casa Grande in what's the biggest game in arguably Petaluma girls soccer history. We've got plenty of more sports coverage coming up next week. The varsity girls basketball team takes on Casa Grande, and our next live stream is the wrestling team taking on Casa Grande in the biggest Petaluma wrestling match in probably city history. going to be a big next week for Trojan Live Sports, but that's going to do it here from Steve Ellison Field. Once again, the final score, Petaluma 2, Vintage 1. Good night.